Okay, good morning everybody, 10 o'clock, welcome to County Hall. Meeting will be webcast. Remember to switch microphones on and off. Apologies for absence, so we've got one or two substitutes here today. So Michael Wyatt is being substituted by Mr. Kaufman.
No,
oh, sorry, you?
No.
Oh.
Jeffrey substituted Mr. Bray.
Ah, thank you. And then I think you're
Make
subbing
all
on.
the difference.
Are you subbing? Yeah. So we've got Wyatt, Newton, Bray with substitutes here. Moving on to declarations. Does anybody have any on the agenda? No. Okay. On Chairman's announcements, I've got three brief announcements. Firstly, I'd like to confirm that Rick Taylor will take over from Steve on January the 1st in the interim role of Chief Fire Officer. I'd like to offer the CFA thanks to Johnson and Andy Keeling for their recommendations to me and to Peter about the appointment in line with the CFA's resolution. So technically, I think it's actually Steve's last day today because he's got a couple of weeks of annual leave, haven't you?
I have.
So
Tomorrow, actually, Chair.
So he's escaping slightly early. Secondly, pleased to inform you that our new firefighter recruits took part in a charity ladder climb on December 2nd in Leicester City Centre, where they broke the fire service record for reaching the equivalent height of Mount Everest. They raised hundreds of pounds for the firefighters charity, and again I'd like to offer the CFA's congratulations and thanks for their achievements. Finally, I attended the annual Fire Service Awards ceremony at Bow Manor Hall last week. 12 members of our staff received the Queen's Long Service Award and Conduct Medal. A further 2 received certificates for completing 30 years of service, and a number of firefighters, and Steve will probably mention them in his update, received commendations for their actions at operational incidents. The whole event was very well run, and everybody, including Lady Gretton and Sir Lawrence Howard, thoroughly enjoyed the ceremony. And of course, it will be their last ceremonies because they're both timed out now due to age. And I'd like to personally put on record our thanks to those two because they have been very supportive of us. One of the recipients of a 32-year award was this young lad sitting next to me here. He didn't know he was getting one, so we surprised him and gave him one. 32 years, isn't it, Steve, you've done?
Yeah, just over.
Yeah. 4, I've no urgent items. I've no questions. Can I move the minutes of the Combined Fire Authority held on the 28th of September as a true and correct record?
I will second that.
All happy? Thank you. Corporate governance, David?
I'd like to move that we note the minutes of the corporate governance meeting held on the 22nd of November.
All happy? Yep. That's great. External audit, which is going to be super interesting. Mark?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is the external auditor's final audit letter on the accounts. Summarises what they've already produced in some more detail, I think, for the Corporate Governance Committee. States that an unqualified opinion on the accounts, and states that we have proper arrangements for securing economy and efficiency. So that's a clean bill of health in effect. So as I say, it summarises what's already published. And oh, sorry. Can everybody hear me? Apologies. So this is the final audit sign-off for the year 2016-17.
Thank you. Switch off there, Mark. We also have Helen Brooks here on my right from KPMG, so if there are any questions, one of these two will answer them. If there's none, we'll just receive them. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Helen. If you want to stay, you can. If you want to go, you can. Annual report, statements of assurance and annual equalities report. This is you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is a combined document. It's the first year that we've tried to combine these 3 separate reports that have always been published annually. And the reason for that is fairly straightforward. We've already combined the Integrated Risk Management Plan and the Corporate Plan. So by integrating these 3, combining them effectively, we're down from 5 publications per year of this official sort of document to 2. And obviously that improves the transparency and access to information within the service. The report is the report, along with the annual equality report. The only thing that I would say to elected members is that there is a legal duty to publish a statement of assurance every year, and that's contained within Part 3 of the document itself. more than happy to take any questions, Chair. The only thing that I asked for in the recommendations is because even though this document has been proofread probably 30 times, there's still probably one or two errors that we'll find in it. So it's to publish it with the view to making any minor amendments that should emerge as we go through the final stages of getting it onto our website.
Well, I'm happy to move that. Any questions for Steve? No, thank you. All happy to move those recommendations? Very good. That's 9 and 10 we've done. Operational update, Steve.
Okay, this is the second report following the decision that the Fire Authority made at its last meeting to receive this type of report on a more regular basis. So I'll just cover some of the key points around the delivery of the corporate objectives. Everything is going pretty well at the moment. There are a few delays to one or two of the priorities that we're trying to work and deliver, but nothing that I would consider to be too challenging. We continue to work in response to the Grenfell tragedy, and we're pretty much all the way through the key areas of work that we targeted around phase 1 and phase 2. So all buildings of height above 6 stories have effectively been inspected under a specific programme, and we're now working through the huge number of buildings that are 4 and 5 storey. Those will be dealt with on the basis of vulnerability. So an assessment will be made, and we'll look at either the building, how it's constructed, or the process in the building, or the people that reside or work in the building. And once we've identified that there's a vulnerability, those buildings will be subject to a further inspection and audit. Huge number of community safety initiatives have been run, and thank you very much, Peter, for hosting the business breakfast back in October. The number of people that attended was quite significant in terms of, and they all walked away from it extremely complimentary about the content of that meeting. Well, you've just heard that the Whole Time Firefighter recruits have just completed a charitable event earlier on in December. They're now all posted to their initial stations. They're on what we call a 2-year carousel, so they'll get experience of working on different stations, different duty systems, because it will provide them with the broadest range possible of experience over that 2-year period. They're all doing pretty well, and they're all really quite excited about what lies ahead at the moment. In terms of firefighter pay negotiations, there is an update to the update, in so much that last week I received notification that the Fire Brigade Union, through consultation with their membership, have accepted an initial 1% increase in pay that will be backdated to July the 1st. That is not the final settlement. Further negotiations are ongoing for the 17-18 period. I can't at the moment tell you when those negotiations will inform us about what additional arrangements will be in terms of pay increases. From an operational perspective, we've been pretty busy. We've been pretty busy over this weekend, and you know, not all of that is linked to snow and the current cold snap that we're going through. It is with a degree of sadness that I have to inform you. On Saturday, we had a pretty severe fire in a property on London Road in Leicester, not far away from the racecourse, and unfortunately, as a consequence of that fire, an 86-year-old gentleman died. We are dealing with what we call the post-incident response now. That response will be to provide advice and guidance to anybody affected or anybody that wants more information and advice in the vicinity of where the fire occurred. Some of you will already know that there is a current incident ongoing in Birstall. The crews have attended a major gas explosion that significantly impacted 2 buildings. One is effectively been completely destroyed. The fire, we have rescued 3 people. 2 are seriously injured. 1 is not so seriously injured. The crews will be there for some significant time, including our technical rescue team and our canine search dog. It's going to create a little bit of chaos today because there are road closures in and around Birstall while they continue to work to resolve that incident. The rest of the updates are straightforward. The 22nd of October, I would just bring that one to your attention. It was a pretty desperate morning for the Fire and Rescue Service. A BMW in collision with one of our fire appliances that resulted in the death of the driver, and the passenger in the vehicle was also seriously injured. Fortunately, none of our crew members were injured, and they have received commendations for their actions immediately following that collision, where they performed, as you would expect, extremely professionally and diligently to rescue both the occupants of the vehicle. We also attended a pretty big fire in the city in Hamilton Road a couple of weeks ago. It necessitated the attendance of 11 fire engines, various special appliances, so aerial ladder platforms, command vehicles. It was quite a big turnout from us, and the irony being that we also had a simultaneous incident in the city at a high-rise. So at one point in time, we had 16 of our fire appliances and 5 of our special appliances deployed at the same time. But of course, we're well practiced in these things, so we had 16 fire appliances come across the border from Warwickshire, Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire to fill in the gaps that were created as a result of those 2 incidents. And the only other thing to note is that for some reason, I don't know, we're doing a lot of work with the multi-agency road safety partnership. We've seen a significant increase in the number of deaths and serious injuries on the roads in November. We'll do all we can, obviously, to promote as much of a safety message as we possibly can. More than happy to take any questions about any of the issues covered in the paper, Chair.
Thank you. The guys who were hit by the BMW, it was recorded on CCTV, so they were hit probably at 70 mile an hour by this BMW, and they jumped straight out and started to help with the rescue of the people in the car, and that's for work above and beyond the call of duty. That's why Steve recommended and gave them the award. I think they were fantastic. I've not seen it myself, but apparently it is a very difficult video to watch. Okay, Sean.
Thank you, Chairman. Page 2 of the report, we've got something there about the tactical response vehicles. Now, as you'll remember, when these were first being proposed, there was a lot of discussion about how effective they might be. There's some rather uncomplimentary things said about them from certain members, myself included, to be honest. I'd be interested to know how they are performing, or whether it's too early to say because they've not long been deployed. And my second question is, this spike in the road traffic accidents, will there be a further report coming here on that, or will we need to make our own inquiries via scrutiny in the offices?
If I deal with the second, there will be a further report around the operational activity levels, but that will go to the Corporate Governance Committee, and if they so wish, any matters that they raise will be brought back to the Fire Authority. In respect of the technical response vehicles, the first one was actually deployed to Loughborough late on in the summer. Now, there was an extensive amount of work that went into the development of the specification and the look of that vehicle, and it is a unique vehicle that's now being used across Leicestershire because of the way that it's configured. So the pump, instead of being separately driven by a separate engine, is driven by the engine that runs the wheels on the vehicle. All the feedback out of Loughborough is it's a great vehicle. And one of the messages that as senior officers we keep saying is, but it is not a fire engine. It isn't there to replace a fire engine. It has a specific use within our response strategy, which is to deal with smaller incidents, but to also provide support at larger incidents where you need people rather than vehicles. So 4 are currently in the process of being deployed. As you can imagine, there's quite a hefty training requirement before we actually deliver the vehicles as operationally active. But all the feedback to date has been really positive. And if elected members are at all interested and would like to see one, I'm sure that we can make arrangements in the new year to get a vehicle to a meeting so you can see it.
Very good. Anything else? No?
Sorry, Chair, just before we do, can I just echo what Steve said about the breakfast briefing, the business breakfast, which was, I think, little. I wasn't quite sure how many would turn up and how it would work. It was absolutely brilliant. It really was. People engaged with it very well. Were very impressed, and we got some intelligent responses and questions. And I think people went away very considerably better informed and very much better reassured as well. So it was well worth doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kirk.
Could I just ask one question in response to page 2, updating responses to Grenfell, and then you've got your priority bandings. Is there anything that you could circulate to elected members across Leicestershire and Rutland in regards to how you prioritise and the bandings? Because we get a lot of requests coming in from members of the community and also other elected members saying, can we start to look at reviewing certain types of buildings? And we say there's a programme that's scheduled by the fire service, but it'd be a lot easier if we had something like that we could just say this is their priority and this is how they band, and then they know for themselves as well and they can pass that information on.
Yes, that won't be a problem, Councillor. What we'll do is I'll get the Head of Community Safety to put together what is effectively an update. It'll be the third update that we've provided, and we'll get that circulated. So it'll give all members across the sub-region information about what we have done, what's outstanding, and the sort of timescales that we're looking at in terms of delivering that, OK?
Good, that seems reasonable.
Nick.
Oh, sorry, David.
Just a quick one. In response to what Steve said about the TRV, I happened to be at a briefing meeting with Steve at headquarters recently, and the Loughborough vehicle happened to be in the yard, and Steve showed me around it. And I found it fascinating, and I'd recommend to all members to have a look at this vehicle, and if Steve or Rick, if you could organise it for all members to have a look at it, I think it would be very, very useful.
Well, yeah, maybe we could get one to Rutland, could we, for February? Well, who'll be in charge of it? Could you get one to Rutland? Do you want to have a look at it at Rutland, or let's?
Yeah,
okay.
why not?
So I'll bring one to Rutland then. No more on that, is there then? So you go straight to Forge Health, which is again you, Steve.
Yeah, Forge Health is our trading company which delivers occupational health services not only to our staff in the Fire and Rescue Service, but they also trade the provision of those services. And this is just the general annual report of the statement of accounts, which effectively identifies that there's been a small increase in profit, which of course will be paid as a dividend, and effectively it is used to offset the cost of providing occupational health services to our staff. One of my jobs is director of this company, and the report is presented for you just to note today. But I'm happy to take any questions about it.
I don't see any questions. Shall we just receive it? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Lauren, review.
Thank you, Chair.
Review and revision of the Constitution.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the report, agenda item 13, is to seek the approval of the CFA for some updating to the Constitution, which we undertake periodically to reflect changes in practice. For example, the fact that financial services are provided through the City Council, therefore to bring the contract procedure rules and financial rules in line with the City Council's processes, and to reflect changes in legislation. So it's more by way of housekeeping and update, Chair, really, than anything significant. And the CFA is asked to approve the proposed changes, noting that there will be some transitional work in relation to the new rules, so that there's an opportunity to embed those properly and carry out any training and so on that may be required. Happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
I'll move them.
A second.
Any questions to Lauren on them? Are there any like housekeeping, really? All happy? Thank you. Date of next meeting, as I said, it will be February 7, 11 at Rutland County Council, and we'll have a DTV, ATV?
TRV.
TRV there for you to look at. Thank you very much.